be combining social marketing and stakeholder marketing. So I'm going to discuss learning outcomes with you. We'll go over a bit of information about Amplify and the trainings and services that we provide, as well as uh, have a presentation from LaTroya. And I'm going to then circle back to you with a presentation regarding Amplify's social marketing services that we offer. And then we're going to go into questions and outcomes that you may have. So learning outcomes that you may expect is defining social marketing and stakeholder marketing. LaTroya Hester will be presenting on the distinctions, understanding the importance of cooperation and partnership. LaTroya and I will be highlighting the importance of forming connections and collaborating with our organizations, businesses, as well as individuals. And third, how to utilize Amplify social marketing campaigns. And I'll be sharing some of our latest social marketing campaigns with you that are accessible for you to download. So Amplify is one of 6 priority population coordinating centers, and we have been established since 2018. And I've been blessed to have this role for over 7 years. And when we started small. We actually started with the question mark, what is a coordinating center? How can we provide service? And I'm very happy to report that we've grown and we've just manifested ourselves into this really, really glorious coordinating center that really meets the diverse needs of our population, which is local lead agencies such as Berkeley Coalition, community-based organizations, small businesses, and individuals. We all had autonomy as coordinating centers to define ourselves of who we are as a priority population coordinating center. And Amplify, we provide culturally relevant expert support and tailored assistance to tobacco control programs, non-traditional partners, and the greater community. We work to engage the African American as well as the African diaspora and immigrant communities in our movement. I have the great honor, as I stated earlier, to be co-presenting with LaTroya Hester. So I'd like to introduce her to you. She will be giving you the presentation regarding Social Marketing 101. LaTroya is the founder of Noire, a consultancy and membership for Black social impact communicators. She is the former director of communications for the Center for Black Health and Equity and continues to prioritize issues related to Black health. She received her ABJ and MA from the University of Georgia and has worked in loyalty marketing, brand management, public relations, and health communications for more than 20 years. Hester currently manages the Center's State of Black Health National Conference and is the visionary behind the organization's Truth Check campaign, addressing COVID-19 misinformation through media literacy. Hester has a passion for teaching and training. As a passion project, Hester runs Media Woke, a faith-based program that teaches media life discipleship. Full-time, Hester serves as a life coach to 2 little girls who love to color outside the lines. LaTroya
One
has
of them is now 12, who my uncle thinks needs to learn how to drive right now. And luckily, we all agree that it's not her time.
an old soul.
Should I go ahead and share my screen?
Yes.
All right, let's see. If everyone can see my screen, say, I can see it. You can come off mute. So listen, here's the thing. I am from a Black church context where I like to hear lots of amens. I like to hear all of that, vocal tones in the coming from my computer. So you are welcome to come off mute. Today, I am going to really just channel my teaching spirit. I have been an adjunct professor for many years, teaching communications and public relations to mostly juniors and seniors who are at the tail end of their time at university. And so I'm going to channel all that today because I want you to understand about how to implement social marketing when it comes to tobacco prevention, youth tobacco initiation, like whatever you're trying to do when it comes to tobacco. I want you to be able to apply social marketing strategies to it, but you have to get a really strong foundation on marketing itself as well as communications before we can even talk about marketing. So I only have 30 minutes. I'm going to tell you everything I know. So in terms of my own learning objectives, obviously we're going to talk about marketing, and you're going to have to take some notes. Feel free to screenshot my slides, whatever you need to do. It's going to be a little bit spitfire. Then I'm going to teach you everything I know about foundational communications, which is my passion and my sweet spot. And then we're going to talk about social marketing. We're going to tie that into cultural resonance so that you understand how storytelling and culture really are important aspects of reaching Black audiences. And then I'm going to teach you everything I know in 30 minutes. That's all there is to it. That's my objective. Everything I know. So if you're ready, say I'm ready. Got to come off mute.
I'm ready. All right now.
Yes.
I'm ready.
All right. I'd love to hear it. Okay. So real quick basics. Marketing is the business of developing and preparing a product for sale in the marketplace. All of you guys know what it means to be marketed to. Someone tries to sell you a Coke. We have to think about, okay, do people want Coke? Is Coke a good brand? Is it something that people are going to like feel like they need? What are the other products that are out there? So we all know what it means to be marketed to, but that's what marketing is. It's not just selling the product though, but it's also thinking about what this product is, who's going to get it, who's going to need it, and preparing it for sale. So marketing is not actually in the J school, which is where I was in school, the journalism school. It's over in the business school because you're literally creating the product, right, for sale in the marketplace and thinking about your customers and who's going to buy it. So if you want to become an instant expert in marketing, all you have to know is the 4 Ps. Who already knows what the 4 Ps are? Who's already familiar with the 4 Ps? You can nod or say, I kind of know, or I really don't know.
I'm familiar.
Okay. Pochette is familiar with the 4 Ps. That makes sense. All right. A lot of alliteration. So when it comes to the 4 Ps of marketing, this is basically all there is to it. You have your product, which is what you're actually going to make, what the benefits of that product is, and if the target audience is going to care about that product. You have the price, which is what it's going to cost, because sometimes when things go on sale, that's a part of marketing, thinking about what your competitors are charging, the price, right? Then you got to think about the place. Are we going to sell it at the point of sale, or at the beginning, at the checkout counter? Are we going to sell it at fairs? Are we going to sell it online only? Where is the place that this thing is going to be sold? And then that 4th P, that's my sweet spot, promotion, is how you're going to tell people about it. That's advertising, public relations, and all the things that are over there in the J school, communications and journalism. But we're going to save that for later because that's the best part. Now, when we are thinking about actually getting people to change their behaviors, we can still apply that to the 4 Ps of marketing. So your product is actually the behavior or the benefit that your audience is going to get if they actually adopt that behavior. So if I'm telling people you need to drink more water and not drink Coke, well, I'm not really selling you water. I'm selling you the habit of drinking water, because what I want you to get is hydration and skin that looks 23, even though you're 43. Actually, that's a Zoom filter. So, you know, I do look kind of young, but it's mostly the Zoom filter. The point is you're selling a behavior, you're selling the benefit, right? So you're saying we want to live longer, we want to prevent disease. This is the actual product. And I want you to remember that when you are thinking about tobacco prevention, you need to educate people on those benefits because that's the product. You are indeed pitching a product when it comes to behavior change. The price, I want you to remember that it does cost people something. I think most of you guys who are doing, if you've been doing tobacco prevention for any length of time, you obviously understand that even as program managers, you have to be really clear that people do give up something in order to give up smoking, right? But the idea is that you're clear that there is a price, and that is what it costs you to change. You want me to start drinking water? I don't like water. You want me to start exercising? I don't like exercising. Now I got to give up my couch potato time, which is very precious to me, right? So what does the audience have to give up? Thinking about place. Now, this is a place where a lot of us want to abdicate to other folks, but when it comes to social marketing, and we'll talk about this later, place is really about access. You want me to exercise? I ain't got no street lights. I ain't got no sidewalks. I'm looking outside because I'm in a neighborhood right now where, you know, access is difficult. So you want me to adopt this behavior change, but where am I going to do this? Where am I going to get all this clean water? Because where I live, it's rural and it's mostly just, you know, well water. And we're not too keen on it. My family, they're from Saginaw, Michigan. And so during the whole thing with Flint and that water, my family refused to drink tap water for 3 years. And that was an expensive endeavor. So the idea is, you know, people have to think about how they're going to access the very thing that they need to be healthy. And it's not always available to everyone. So that's something to keep in mind. The point is product, price, and place. When it comes to place is really about access. And lastly, promotion, that's that persuasive messaging. I'm going to teach you a little bit about my own messaging framework. But the point is, this is really all you need to know when it comes to marketing. Now, when you're marketing a product, the most important aspect is your audience. And I don't know how much time we spend thinking about our audiences, but the way we learn about our audience is through market research. And so a lot of times we're thinking about the product need, right? But we need to be thinking about our audience, because a lot of times when we're doing tobacco prevention work, some from some generation may be thinking about, let's prevent smoking, let's stop youth smoking. But really, youth don't think that they're smoking because they're vaping, right? They don't think that they're using nicotine products because they're using hookah, right? So we need to be thinking about how to communicate specifically with what our audience actually needs. When it comes to young Black folks, a lot of times we're really thinking about Swisher Sweets and, you know, Black and Milds and flavored cigarillos, right? All of those kind of products. And so you have to think, what is the behavior we're actually trying to address? What does the product need? What are the competitors? Okay, if I'm not vaping, what am I doing? Who understand that not doing the behavior, there are competing interests, competing agendas, right? Again, your audience is really important. The market context is really important when you're trying to sell a behavior change, because are we living in a time where there's higher stressors? Are we living in a time where social media has taken a greater role in people's lives and it's a much bigger barrier than we'd like to admit? The point is, if you're going to do really great marketing, still over here in the marketing side, we've got to do our research. We have to know what the needs are, what the competitors are, how our audiences think, and what the context is that our audience is living in. So when you're thinking about your audience, I know that a lot of you are probably going to go automatically to the demographic of your audience: race, gender, age, socioeconomic status, if they're an early adopter, if they're early career, maybe even if you're doing the status of if you're a smoker or if you're a non-smoker, whatever. But I want you to be thinking about the psychographic of your audiences. How many of you are capturing the psychographic typically of your audiences when you're thinking about working in your community? How many of you have captured and written down the psychographics? You can nod or say not really and be honest so that I can know how much time to spend. Okay, good. So when it comes to the psychographics, we're looking at how your audience is thinking and feeling and what kind of people they are. Are they frustrated? Are they overworked and underpaid? Are they underfunded professionals? Do they want to start dating again? Are they looking for more in life? Are they sick of the pandemic, don't want to hear anything else about COVID? Are they into flexibility or privacy? Are they a burnt out professional? Are they an early adopter? Or are they a late adopter like me? I'm still an Obama. I'm still like many presidents behind because I'm a late adopter. It takes me a long time to get on board. You know, that's just me. But the point is, you have to think about what your audience is actually like and not just what you can see by looking at them in a picture, right? All right, so I want us to commit to understanding what our audience is actually like and how they actually think. This matters, all right? I'm gonna skip through this really fast so I can keep going because I think that you guys got it. Do you got it? If you got it, say I got it. When it comes to marketing, you got it? Looks like you got it. I'm looking at some nods. All right, cool. So
Yeah.
in that case, let's move on to my favorite P, which is promotion. Promotion is when we're actually thinking about how to communicate directly with our audiences, right? We want to know how to communicate the value of the behavior that we're trying to pitch to them. And we want to make sure that it's resonating culturally and emotionally with who they are, right? So that is communications. That's where I shine. Unfortunately, I don't have all day to tell you everything I know about communications, but I'm going to tell you the most key things so that you can apply them to social marketing. Now, We have to start from the very beginning. This is not elementary because most people don't get it. When you are talking to one person, that is called interpersonal communication. You and I are having a conversation, that's interpersonal communication. Most people know what that is. When you're talking to someone, you have a specific message that you are trying to share to them. And if they hear it, or if they interpret it, and that message gets to them, then communication has happened. Now, and when you are talking to someone, you're just using your mouth and you're talking to one person, typically not more than just a handful of people, right? That's interpersonal communication. If you are trying to communicate with multiple people using any kind of a medium, that is mass communication. Because when we are talking about social marketing, I want you to remember that we are talking about mass communication. Everyone say mass communication. See, y'all are still on mute, so I can't hear you. I see your mouth moving. I see it. But the point is, we're talking about mass communication when we're talking about communication, okay? This is not interpersonal communication. You have to keep this in mind because you need a medium to do that. So you have the person who is talking, you have the message you're trying to get to them, and you're using a medium like a television or a radio or a website to get that message to them. Now you are engaging in mass communication. And let me tell you, if you didn't know that that's what you were doing, that's what you are doing. That automatically makes you an expert. But what is media? I bet most people think that they can say that they could tell me what media is, but I'm going to show you a little bit of a list. This is a list I often show to students because they think that when they're engaging in mass communication and they have decided that they're going to be on a podcast or they're going to write a blog, that is the limitations of mass communication. And the reason I'm sharing this list with you all is because now today I'm going to knight you all as health communicators. As health communicators and public health professionals, we need to think way more expansively about what media is. Is there anything on this list that you did not realize was media? You have to come off mute. I can't see the chat now.
I feel like one of the ones that, like, if I really thought about it, I'm like, I guess that is media, but wouldn't have like initially been a thought for me is
Okay.
menus.
Menus.
Yeah.
Very good. So remember, when you go to a restaurant, because what we said was anything that is communicating a message through something else is media, especially if it's going out to a mass audience. And if thousands of people go to Ruby Tuesdays, or I don't know what y'all got out there in California, and you're looking at the menu, this is an opportunity for you to communicate a message. For instance, the Center for Black Health and Equity, they've been working really hard on getting the menu to say, hey, this particular item is high sodium, just like we've gotten it to say this is gluten-free, this is important. But that is a message. And now you can start to prioritize the values and a culture. We actually care of something. And y'all in California, I feel like y'all care about everything. I'm from Georgia. We late out here. But the point is, it's trying to get people to actually care about their health. And when you put a demarcation on a menu, you have communicated something to mass audiences. And so when we're thinking about how effective we can be in health communication, in communications in general, I want you to remember that everything is potentially media because they contain a message. Here in Atlanta, we have this amazing walkway called the Beltline. One day I was walking across the Beltline, coming up under the bridge, and I saw this piece of graffiti and it said, "We are all thriving with HIV." That is a message. That is a message that communicates an anti-stigma point of view. Like, we're thriving. I don't know what y'all think about those of us living with HIV, but we are thriving, right? This girl, she has a t-shirt on, "Running is the kale of exercise." I was like, yes, that's true, because it's hard and not that flavorful, right? But even cereal boxes are opportunities for you to put a public health message out there. So I don't want us to limit ourselves to the way that we've been thinking about media before. Now, when it comes to communication, as I said it, your message is the most important thing. So in that P for promotion, your messaging matters the most, okay? And I'm going to give you a fantastic example of how we create messages that resonate with our audiences. You guys may be familiar with this campaign. It's pretty old at this point. It's called the Fresh Empire campaign. The FDA put this out some years ago, around the same time that they were doing the Real Cost campaign. But this campaign was all about Black and Hispanic urban youth. It was all about being independent. It was about, rejecting cigarettes and tobacco and really regaining control of your life, or that being a means to regain control of your life. There was a lot of spoken word content that came out of all of those PSAs and commercials, and it was pretty effective. The reason it was effective, we're going to talk about it. Why? Because of the messaging, because of the social marketing affiliated with it, and because of the cultural resonance of that campaign. So let me tell you about how we create messaging that actually works. This is my strategic message framework that I use for every campaign that I build. Basically, it's pretty simple. And I'll give you an example here that doesn't have to do with tobacco, because I want you to be thinking creatively. So you have your priority message, which is the thing that you want to communicate, right? Then you have your strategy. Your strategy is your approach based on insights, which is everything you know about your audience. Everyone say, my strategy is my approach based on insights. Approach based on insights. This is how you're going to go about talking to them based on what you know about them. So you don't say your priority message. That's not what we're going to say, because that's just going to be a waste of time. It's going to go in one ear and out the other. Your strategic message is what you actually say to your audiences. So, for instance, when it came to social media and misinformation, what we wanted to tell people, our priority message was people should stop spreading misinformation on social media, because at that time, people were really hesitant to get vaccinated for COVID, and that was a part of the problem. So our strategy was to think about, okay, what do we know about our audience? They are connected with family and friends, and most of them think that what they say doesn't matter, so they can just like, share, and that's it. But what we decided to do was to affirm that all social media users are influencers, and that their activity online actually does make a difference. That was our approach. If you're going to create a message in a social marketing campaign, it has to be effective and strategic, which means it has to be based off of something that you already know about your audience. You can't just say, listen, stop spreading misinformation, because most people are going to say, I don't spread misinformation. That's not me. And really, it was all y'all. It was my mama in the group chat telling everybody that all you need is hot water and lemon, because that's what she told everybody, for real. And so what I want you guys to think about is the thing that you actually say instead, which is, like, I'm not saying that you are spreading all this misinformation. I'm just saying pause before you share social content, because your followers actually do respect what you say. They don't trust doctors or the news, but they trust you. And so if you look at that from this particular campaign, her name was Jessica. She's a spoken word artist. If you look at this particular campaign, we wanted to say, teens shouldn't smoke. Don't smoke. But how many of y'all know up in the church today that teenagers do not care about you telling them what to do one way or the other? They don't care. They just don't care. It's in one ear and out the other. There's no point in telling them not to smoke. What we do know about young people is that they care about what they look like. They care about getting dates. They care about being authentic. They care about it being in control and no one telling them what to do, right? And so instead of us saying teens shouldn't smoke, we're going to appeal to young people's need for independence and authenticity. And what we're going to say instead of don't smoke is rejecting cigarettes is one way to regain control of your life. Does that make sense? If it makes sense, everybody nod real long and slow. Excellent. Because you need a really strong strategic messaging framework to actually engage in good social marketing, which we'll get to. I think you got it. You guys are now all mass communications experts. That's really all there is. Understanding what media is and understanding how to message will get you on your way. If you're ready for the next thing, say, I'm ready. I can feel it in my spirit. You're ready. All right, so let's talk about cultural resonance. Here's the thing about cultural resonance. If you're going to create a message, it has to make sense for the people that you're communicating to. Otherwise, it will fall flat and it will go in one ear and out the other. When a message or a story deeply connects with a specific audience because it reflects their values, experiences, or language, now we are getting more into cultural resonance. I feel like this is something that we already understand and know, but we are always so hesitant to actually create campaigns, messaging, and content that will resonate with our audience. We have to do it fearlessly because we have to recognize when we actually know that audience and their worldview, okay? Y'Lonn is going to show you guys some examples of this a little bit later on, but I'm going to show you one that comes from a campaign that I was working with during COVID. And I'm going to teach you guys about like how you can implement what we call cultural markers into your content so that it resonates with your audience, okay? So a cultural marker is any kind of a cue or use of language or imagery that indicates that you understand a particular group. Now, we have to accept that just because we are a part of a particular group of people, like just because I'm Black doesn't mean I understand all the Black people. I understand Black middle-class moms because that's where I'm at, right? But I don't understand every kind of Black person. I understand Black military kids who grew up in the Army, right? Like with Army life, that's who I understand, right? So you have to accept that you may not understand every single thing about a community because you're a part of that community, but you should leverage what you do know. I'm putting that out there because sometimes things fall flat because you are not really a part of the group that you think that you're a part of. Just saying. Okay, so a cultural marker though. This is any kind of a cue or image that you're using to associate with the group, and it demonstrates your affiliation with that group, okay? This is how you establish rapport, establish trust, and credibility. Sometimes you have to partner with other organizations in order to ensure that you're using language and imagery and context that matter and that makes sense to that particular group. All right. So if you look at this social media graphic over here was a campaign called Vax Facts. And it just says, "We full, Grady Hospital." Now, if you are from Atlanta, you know Grady. Everybody here knows Grady. Grady is where you go when you have been shot, when you do not have health insurance. I mean, just the truth, right? This is where you go. And if you say you're a Grady baby, everybody knows that means you were born in Atlanta. That's the claim, right? And so if Grady puts out a message that says, y'all out here talking about how COVID is not really a thing, but we full over here, right? That has a distinct level of cultural resonance because when you drop the V-verb, then you're thinking through like, that is how Black people in Atlanta talk, just "we full," and it's Grady Hospital saying it. It means everything to people who see this message. It is not made up. We are at capacity here at Grady Hospital. It communicates all of that to a very particular group in one single social media post, right? That is what cultural resonance looks like in action. The other thing is that your trusted messengers, and you guys are all familiar with trusted messengers, right? Like the people who should be saying these things are the ones saying it. Make sure that the right people are saying the things that they need to say, and that you haven't employed the wrong talking heads, because then it will fall flat again. Also keep in mind that your channel, the radio station that you use, the magazines that you use, the social profiles that you use are also cultural markers. So if they're going on to the wrong place, it's not gonna resonate. But I think this is a fantastic example of cultural resonance, and I'm not gonna share any more after this because Y'Lonn's, all of her examples are very culturally resonant. They're the best examples, and I'm not gonna spoil them. But I want you to remember that in order to be culturally resonant, you have to employ cultural markers, and I think I've given you some here today. I think you got it. If you got it, say amen. We're moving on to social marketing. See, Tino's with me. I like you. I like all this. I like everybody else with the cameras off. Boo. All right, let's keep going. Let's talk about social marketing. Marketing, traditional marketing, and communications are the building blocks for social marketing. In public health, when it comes to public health communications, the old way was that we bombarded people, especially CDC, just giving you information. I'm gonna give you this pamphlet. You better read this pamphlet, right? And just giving people the information and somehow expecting that to result in change. So you end up with this guy. I don't know who he is. I just really like this graphic where he's just like, you want me to quit smoking? You want me to change my life? But you gave me this 3-page white paper. I can't even read this, right? And we expected him to change. Enter social marketing. If marketing and promotion is about selling a product, social marketing and health communication is about selling a behavior change. And in order to do that, we don't leave old dude by himself just with a white paper. or a PDF download, which is what we like to do, don't we? Give somebody a PDF download. When it comes to social marketing, we are taking advantage of all the kinds of media that we talked about, graffiti on the Beltline and the social posts that Y'Lonn is going to show you later. We take advantage of media. We take advantage of community events. We provide education in all kinds of different ways. We think about access. We think about the policies needed to support change. We develop full-length, comprehensive campaigns, and we train people so that should old dude here, I should have given him a name, but should old dude here look for information, there are people who are trained to give it to him. Social marketing is about taking advantage of all of those things and employing them for a behavior change. So let's all put our social marketing hats on. I don't know, I just thought this was a great slide. And let's see what it looks like in action. Here is Terry. Now, remember we talked about gathering insights about our audience. Here's what we know about Terry. That's the name of my father-in-law, by the way, who actually is very much like Terry. Lives in Memphis, retired manager of a school custodial staff. He loves barbecue. He has 3 grandkids. He watches YouTube every time they come over. He's got a big backyard. He volunteers at church. He loves cigar lounges, and he smokes a little bit more often ever since the pandemic, right? Because he was home a lot, and now he just increased his habit. Now, we know all about Terry. Remember, we did our market research and we understand insights about our audience. We know how to message Terry. But social marketing goes beyond the messaging. As I said, social marketing is a 360-degree approach to reaching Terry. We are going to hit Terry from every single angle. We're going to hit him with the billboards. We're going to hit him with the local radio ads. We're going to make sure he has a hotline. We got some national observance days that he can take advantage of. We got like all these skill building and materials that are ready on lock, on deck for whenever Terry comes across somebody who needs it. We have handouts. We are ready for Terry. How does it look? How does social marketing look for Terry in each one of these sections? This is what social marketing looks like. So Terry's hanging out with his grandkids, right, at the house, and they're watching YouTube videos, and they come across this particular video that Y'Lonn is going to show you in a second. But in this video, he sees some funny content about cigarettes and smoking, right? And he laughs it off, and he's like, that's cool, that's funny, y'all are so crazy like, right? And he likes it. Then later on in the evening, he sees a Tips from Former Smokers campaign. And he sees Roosevelt talking about how, you know, smoking for all those years really impacted his heart and he had to have open heart surgery. And he thinks to himself, interesting. And that's that, right? He sees a Quit Now number. And because this commercial went up in California, he saw the hotline for Kick It California. He was like, maybe I'll slide over there. And I think you guys have like a text messaging program, right? It's a text messaging program, I want to say. Anyway, there's a cessation program, and he gets after seeing the commercial, he goes online and he adds himself to the list so that he can get a quick coach, right? Then wouldn't you know it, a couple of weeks later, it's No Menthol Sunday, which I have to say is my other claim to fame. I am, you know, one of the founders of No Menthol Sunday. And so he's at church volunteering, and some teenagers at the church, they had themselves a table and they're giving out information about menthols. He's like, this is interesting. Remember, we're hitting Terry with a 360 approach. We have social media campaigns and billboards. We have local TV and radio. We've got a hotline for him to call. And now it's an observance day. Now he decides, I think I'm going to do it. I'm actually calling my quick coach back now, because I did call him that one time, but then I was like, nah. And so now I think I'm going to actually get that quick coach to call me again. He goes to get his hair cut. And wouldn't you know, a couple of barbers out there in California are trained to take people's blood pressure and remind them, hey, you know, you can quit smoking. Remember, this is a 360 approach. We built an entire campaign and a community around this decision for behavior change. It wasn't just the messaging. It wasn't just the market research. It was all the way around him. So his barber takes his blood pressure and says, yo, man, you know what? You might want to really think about calling that quick coach back. Lastly, Terry has made up his mind, and he's not really sure because it's kind of hard, But lucky for him, he takes his kids to a community back to school fair, and there are the school nurses that are there handing out information about blood pressure and about quitting smoking and about how hard it is and how it can take a couple of attempts. This happened to my husband. We were at a community back to school fair. They took his blood pressure and we immediately went to urgent care because it was out of control. But the point is, there were trained nurses to say, hey, this is what it should be. This is not good. You should probably go take care of that. He gets some handouts from the community person about how it's okay that it can take multiple times to quit smoking, but he can do it. Now, the only thing about social marketing that is not represented here that I want to point out is that policy is an extremely important piece of the whole entire social marketing matrix, right? So we've hit him from every corner, but we need for there to be some smoke-free restaurants, some smoke-free, and y'all are in California, so you guys already have so many things on lock that so many of us in other regions don't have, but more policies that make it a little bit more difficult for him to find places to smoke, that make it a little bit more socially unacceptable to be smoking cigars here, there, and everywhere, right? We need that policy as an important piece of the total social marketing campaign. But I'm telling you, after about 3 months of hitting him from every side, he finally decided to make another attempt to quit smoking cigars. Now, what made it so successful is that 360 approach. We addressed Terry directly with multiple channels, encouraging him to quit, even the social marketing, even the social media posts that were just supposed to be funny. That was the trigger in his mind. He had social support. There were family and friends and people in his community that understood the process for quitting smoking. There were service providers, even down to his barber, who had some training in some things, right? You guys as public health professionals and program managers, you can train people in the community to just ask, hey, do you smoke? And here's a pamphlet, right? But it goes further with policy. It works toward environmental and systemic changes that actually support him and future generations to be smoke-free. That is what social marketing can do. It takes all the tenets of mere communication, dare I say it, and marketing, right? And it piles on a 360 approach to actually get someone to change their behavior for the better. That is what I have for you today. Did you learn something new? Will you commit to not just throwing stuff out there willy-nilly, but taking on that 360 approach to tobacco prevention? Okay, I believe you. I believe you in my heart. So if you think about Terry in the future, also think about me. Again, I'm LaTroya Hester, founder of Comms Noire. Super excited to support you all in your communications planning alongside Y'Lonn. I'm gonna pitch it back to her so she can show you more of what it looks like in action.
Thank you, LaTroya. You are amazing. And this is just so needed for us because, we're all of us are not communication and marketing experts. Yet several of us have this work written into our
A
grants and our
mandate, yeah,
scopes of
I
work.
know.
And we sometimes we miss the mark and we're wondering why. And the approach that you shared, the matrix, really is just enlightening and is inspiring me in the work that I'm going to be doing moving forward. And how can I fill some of those gaps? So thank you. And I feel like we're just
Pleasure.
getting started with this. Gosh, y'all, I have so much good stuff to share. I am going to ask Tino if you can please bring me back. I would love to come back and give a presentation regarding hilarity and health. And this is surrounding the campaign that was created with my community engagement awardees. And I'm going to be showing you the videos, the quick skits that they created based off of their cultural resonance. Everything that LaTroya mentioned, I was thinking about my community engagement awardees. And didn't want to show you these short clips without giving you some context as to why I thought outside the box and approached comedians and actors to be part of my cohort for our Community Engagement Awards. Traditionally, Amplify does a Community Engagement Award program once a year from January to June, and we work with community-based organizations. Normally, they host webinars or in-person health events, but something told me that I wasn't reaching the right demographic. And how could I branch out and reach other groups and audiences that still needed to have this education and knowledge. And thinking outside of the box is what got me to this point of having actors and comedians come into this cohort. And I wanted to just give you some brief context about comedy and just the effect that it has on the African American culture and is how deeply interwoven it is into our culture for decades and our everyday life. And I only have yet maybe 15 minutes with you because I want to leave 5 minutes for Q&A. I'm just going to skim through this. But like I said, Tino, I would love to come back and give more deeper context. But I'm going to take you back to the 1900s. This is a time when uh, television was emerging. Plays were very popular, but the minstrel shows were extremely popular. Not only did minstrel shows depict African Americans in sort of a playstick type of way and stereotyping African Americans, it was also there was also blackface. And that's when white America would dress up and put paint their face as Black Americans and parade around. And so that was very popular in the 1900s. But it was also a time when actual African Americans were minstrels as well. And so this was sort of the first type of comedy that America experienced. Then we move into Black vaudeville and the Chitlin circuit. This was the 1900s to the 1960s. And this is where you actually had African American acts taking their shows on the road in the South, on the East Coast. And this was what broke the norms of blackface. And okay, you are not going to just mimic our culture. No, we're going to display our culture in a more positive way. So this is just a part and a segment of us coming into some type of liberation. This happened through the 60s. Then within that time frame, we have this beautiful renaissance that took place in the East Coast area, the Harlem Renaissance, and you have TV. TV emerges, and the Harlem Renaissance began in 1934. And it reopened the Apollo Theater, which really paved the way for a new type of Black comedian. And comics emerged such as Nipsey Russell, who's very popular, Sandman Sims, who would dance across the stage when people did bad and the audience would boo. I don't know if you guys remember Apollo Theater. Well, come on, when I used to watch that.
Hey.
And I would just love to say, oh yeah, yeah, they're terrible. Where's Sandman? Bring him out, bring him out. And everyone would go like that. They'd move him to the side, move him to the side. Now, political and social themes emerged out of these comedians and a time to just take control of identity and liberation. The abolishment of Jim Crow laws and civil rights movement ushered in this area of outspoken Black comedians. And this is where I believe the forefront of us beginning our social marketing and communications really began. And, TV shows in the 70s started to reflect these profound social transformations of the African American pop culture, and it exposed more Americans, not just African Americans, to Black culture. And also began a time also within the 60s and 70s of Black exploitation because of it. And now when we have mine growing up in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, we have these great comedy shows and comedians, um, Cosby Show, Different World, Jamie Foxx, Recents, Blackish. So we have all of these great shows with African Americans depicted in a comedic fashion. But you have to ask yourself why. Well, the creators knew, the companies, CBS, ABC, NBC, they saw the data, and the data concluded that this type of comedy resonates not only with African Americans, but with majority of Americans. And that's where we have this African American mainstream. But why have we not utilized this in public health? And here I just highlight a few of our comedy greats that I particularly think are comedy greats. Richard Pryor, uh, we have Cat Williams, of course. How can we forget Eddie Murphy, Dave Chappelle, Kevin Hart, and then just great films, films that just make you laugh thinking about them and put you in a good mood. So why can't we carry this good mood over to our public health campaigns and our strategies that we create? So where does particularly Black comedy go from here regarding public health? A new era can't be ushered in without the prior era that has set the precedents. And I don't have time to play this video, but this is referring to the Jamie Foxx Netflix special, What Had Happened Was. And he talks about his near brush with death and being in the hospital and having a blackout, high blood pressure. But he explained it in such a comedic way that the actual message got through that, hey, you have to take care of your health. You have to take care.
What had happened was.
And sometimes we just need to hear that with a different messenger. And comedy can be the messenger that can resonate with a niche audience. So why use comedy in public health and campaigns and social marketing? Well, to deal more effectively with big tobacco's multi-million-dollar campaigns that harness the pulse of our culture. Also, to find fresh perspectives and enrich the wider communications activities. We had really great campaigns, as LaTroya mentioned. The Truth Initiative campaign was very effective and also highlighted comedian Amanda Seales, who was really great with resonating with the youth. And the importance of partnering with trusted messengers, as LaTroya mentioned, having those trusted messengers, because like she said, I might not resonate with this particular targeted population within the African American culture. However, I should be able to bring someone in who is within that particular subculture and subgenre to be effective. So partnerships in public health are key when you particularly do not resonate with that audience. So comedy and health golden rules. If comedy makes your audience forget their problems by making them laugh, then they have done their job well. And if a comedian makes the audience think about other people's problems after making them laugh, then he or she has not only done a great job, but has also made a difference. James Allen, comedian. So my outside of the box strategy brought in a unique partnership in public health, which was Joel Boyd and his partner, Maya Estefanos of Black Hippie Inc. They are the creators of the Man on the Street campaign. They were our 2024 cohort fellows, and it was a process of about 9 months to create these short clips. The first one I want to introduce to you is the short clip of Bob Ross's Black. This is the Man on the Street series. It's creation of a short comedic digital sketch series aimed at spreading awareness on predatory marketing and the nature of the tobacco industry toward the Black community. This will contain a series of interactive sketches that shed light on tobacco's current effects on our physical, emotional, financial, and mental health. So this first one here is Black Doll and White Doll trivia. Joel and Maya hit the streets with stats about tobacco industry and the Black community. This time they use a black doll and a white doll to test the knowledge with questions like, which doll would you say is more likely to smoke menthol cigarettes? Let's take a look.
We're here live in Culver City. We're working with a company that does great prevention of tobacco use in the community. And for all intents and purposes of this game, we only have these two dolls. Bob Ross.
Bob Ross? Is that Bob Ross?
That is Bob Ross. She knows Bob Ross.
Is black.
Obviously an African-American man.
He's black.
Superman is going to be a Caucasian man. Which doll is more likely to smoke menthol cigarettes?
Who do you think? I don't know.
Bob Ross. I'm going to say that my father used to smoke menthol.
You are correct. Bob Ross and her dad. We don't know if Bob Ross is her dad. Today, 4 out of 5 African-American people who do use tobacco
smoke menthol cigarettes.
Fact, 4 out of 5 black smokers use menthol cigarettes. 50% of black adult smokers in California use menthol cigarettes. And Bob Ross is black. And that was their comedic take of Bob Ross. Now, I must say, perhaps Bob Ross didn't particularly resonate with me and me finding Bob Ross being black funny. However, when we conducted the focus group, it worked with that sub audience.
Because
So we
Bob Ross is black.
There you go.
That-
See?
I
That's
thought
what we
everybody
all
knew
think.
that.
That's what we all think.
I grew up with that
Exactly.
man on TV. I was watching him doing painting on Channel 9.
We knew, right? He had a
Oh,
smooth
yeah.
voice too. He had a real smooth voice.
Smooth.
We're here.
So our second video is how do we market cigarettes to white people? So Joel and Maya are hitting the streets again with stats about the tobacco industry and the black community. After illuminating the facts, they generally ask their guests, how do we market cigarettes to white people?
How can we market cigarettes to white people?
Since the 1950s, tobacco ads have targeted the black community, making us less likely to quit, more likely to use menthol, and causing 45,000 preventable deaths yearly. So we hit the streets of California to find out what happens if these tactics target a different audience.
How can we market cigarettes to white people?
How can we flip it?
You lie?
You may or may not get melanin from smoking a cigarette.
Okay.
Are there any places where you see a lot of white people that we could put like a billboard up?
Like rodeos, I imagine that.
Taylor Swift concert. Marlboros. Taylor Swift.
Perfect for Barbie.
Perfect. That
Yeah.
should be the slogan.
Tobacco ads have targeted black communities since the 1950s. We do not have Taylor Swift or Barbie money, so don't sue us. And black people are less likely to quit smoking.
That's great.
Have you ever you've watched something several times and then something you missed comes up and you're just like, I never noticed that before. And at the Taylor Swift, hey, I never noticed that before until right now. That's great.
How can
And my last one that I like to show you is our true story. So Joel and Maya hit the streets and have chill, laid back personal conversations with people that smoke or have friends who smoke.
Since the dawn of man, there has been no greater rivalry than that of big tobacco and that dainty little guy, the toothpick. See, tobacco companies have always hated their wooden competition.
Hate.
And for good reason. Toothpicks make you look cool as hell. And making people look cool is how tobacco companies have marketed to black people for decades. But now we're bringing it back.
We're gonna bring back toothpicks? Look, give them a little mug. Just let them know what you.
Oh, yeah.
I'm kind of feeling it. This is way cooler than smoking.
Oh, there's
Right?
a movie called Coolie High.
That's a classic.
Chill on that.
Kick it now. and pick up the good stick.
So focus group results from this last segment, 100% say that material grabbed their attention. 100% said that the materials were easy to understand. 95% said that it was culturally appropriate for their community. And 90% said that the material was memorable. So those videos are available for you to utilize. We also have TikTok video versions of that as well. My idea was to create them as TikToks, quick video skits that could really gain traction for a social media marketing campaign. But we also decided that these are worthy of YouTube to be shared and also utilized in your presentations, particularly your community presentations. Amplify also offers social media campaigns on a monthly basis. We just completed Juneteenth, and in our newsletters, we include our social media posts for you. And we create these posts throughout the year to highlight Black health and wellness, African American holidays. We even touch upon Black women's health, mental health, heart health. So please utilize these resources. And I'm going to leave you with this page that has information regarding our social media assets. They are located on Canva and available for you to download. And we also have our YouTube channel listed there. And then, of course, our website, where you can also receive a plethora of information as well as sign up for our newsletters. And I believe there's maybe 2 to 5 minutes for questions and answers.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, Y'Lonn and LaTroya. That was jam-packed full of, in a little bit of time. Y'all got a lot in there. Um, and I know it got the gears turning in my head. Something that jumped out to me when LaTroya was presenting was I do cessation work, and I also facilitate our cessation classes for the city of Berkeley and surrounding communities. And something I'd heard at a different training or with someone else who was doing similar work was it takes 5 touches for people to take action. And so when LaTroya was talking about that 360 approach, I was like, this is like, yes, that makes sense. The
That's how
5
you do it.
touches. And it's, like, but I was thinking of it as like the same thing, but this makes me think of it differently. It feels like this makes more sense to me actually when you said the different way, like it's not them hearing the same message from the same group.
Right.
It's them hearing that message from different groups that they trust and
Right.
or different like wherever they get their information from. If that's Facebook, if that's like wherever we need them to be getting the correct information, the information that's going to help them at least 5 times in different ways. So yeah, that stood out to me. And as Y'Lonn was presenting, I know that sometimes we have to laugh to keep from crying. That is true, and I'm glad that you had worked with comedians on how how are we going to be able to get a health message out there to more people, and why not through comedy? They've used comedy in different ways in the past for not so beneficial things for our community. So why can't we flip that and start using it to actually help our people? And I know that we need different messengers, and this ties into what both of y'all were saying, different messengers, various messengers, trusted messengers who can provide that information to folks in their bubble, because people have a bubble of information and they don't care about the other things outside their bubble. You can say, "Oh, I heard on this," and they're like, "That's not relevant to me." But if they are on YouTube, or if they are on social media, or if they have an influencer that they pay attention to, getting those kinds of places to give that information is going to be gain more traction.
Yes.
So yeah, getting folks to think of and then that something that Y'Lonn mentioned, getting folks to think of other people's problems is how we can gain great momentum towards community and social change. Like a lot of us are, I was just talking with someone about, you know, whenever someone doesn't care about an issue, that shows their privilege, you know, like that you are privileged to be able to not care about something, because when it affects you, you have to care about it, right? So that's just something that came to me this week through I was at a Pride event, and I was just like, yeah, this is the message that's jumping out to me. And so if we can find ways through comedy, through different messengers to get folks to think of others, you know, that empathy, to work that empathy muscle, like we can create much better positive change in our communities and in our society.
Yeah.
But yeah, that I would love to hear from someone else. I said a lot. I'm sorry. But I was just thinking, y'all gave us a lot of food, and I was eating it up.
Yeah, I just thank you for the great presentation. I just it's in a chat that, yeah, it'd also be good to include, and you touched on this a little bit, LaTroya, about like having free yoga classes, having healthy alternatives.
Yeah.
Like walking as a group walking, morning group walks or evening group walks.
That's good. Yeah.
Healthy food samples. Because a lot of time, like you said, people don't have access to healthy alternatives.
Mm-hmm.
So if the city could offer free healthy alternatives, that would
For
be great.
sure.
Yeah.
And that's a perfect part of that 360 approach.
Yes. And part of it is our marketing, because we actually do have free yoga classes. We actually do have a lot of these resources, and we just need to be better at marketing it, because so many people were like, it would be great if you guys offered this, and we're like, we do. It'd be great if you offered this. It's like, we do offer that. And it's like, oh no. So that just tells us like we don't have the right messengers getting that message out, or we're not putting that message out in the proper places for majority of folks in our community to be able to know.
Yeah, like LaTroya was saying, to make it friendly for people of color, because I know a lot of times people say, oh, I'm not going to go to a yoga class, that's for white people, or I've never done yoga, I don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
But maybe like this is yoga for people of color, free yoga for people of color, you know, or just like I said, a morning walk for people, evening walk for people.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's here in Atlanta, there's the local American Heart. They do this thing where you walk with your city council member. So the city council members do the walks like every such and such Saturday mornings. So you're getting the exercise, but you're getting you think you're getting a chance to really like talk to your representatives, which you do, which contributes to policy change. But it's the act of like walking, like whatever is going to pull them to going for this walk, you have to position it a certain way, right? So it's whether it's this is more social, or this is like community advocacy, because that's what people learn to, or if this is something out of the box, competitive, right? But you've got to give it a name so people want to do it.
No, thank you. Thank you so much, y'all. And I want to pivot, because I want to give it at least 10 minutes to another really important issue. I know Amara is going to be speaking to it. And so again, thank you so much, Y'Lonn and LaTroya, for giving us your time and your expertise. And I know that we will be sharing the recording out with folks who would love this information, but just weren't able to make it today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tino. Thank you all for having us.
It's our pleasure.